Hello and welcome to the Warcraft replay. It's going to be the first of a best of two from the WCA Group D matches of 2014. This is going to be the other two players of Group D, Undead versus Orc. We have WFZ spawning in as the teal Undead player in the bottom right. Also spawning in on the bottom right is going to be ZDR, the yellow Orc player, on the map Turtle Rock. So yeah, ZDR is one of those players that I guess is relatively new to the big stage. I can't say for certain, but you know, compared to the others, he doesn't have as much exposure, I guess. But anyway, close spawn. That could mean that WFZ could get himself an early lead here with mass schools, but of course we gotta see if he's actually gonna go for that one. Blade Master first for ZDR. We're actually gonna go for delayed Altar of Darkness, as we do have a very early graveyard. No Tomb Relics whatsoever. There it is, but yeah, WFZ is actually going to be focusing on fairly early Crypt Fiends, I guess, to maybe stand his own against the Blade Master, but you know, by doing that, he is going to be a little bit behind on tech, as well as maybe a little bit of his lumber. He is going for 2 ghouls instead of the usual 3. 3 is usually the optimal number of lumber, but yeah, that's not gonna happen. Anyway, ZDR, he is going to be going for, looks like the standard start. Blade Master is actually going to start with the Ogre Warrior camp here, and well, we shall see if he goes hard farming or if he's gonna maybe harass with level 2. Death Knight still not out, but we do have at least one Crypt Fiend out for WFZ. He's actually gonna get a second one very soon, but as you can notice, tier 2 still not started. And yeah, that's partially because of a lot of gold being spent on the graveyard, not enough ghouls to, you know, afford it lumber wise, and yeah, all the stuff like that. Tier 2 started for ZDR, and he's gonna go maybe harass, I don't know. Maybe if he spots the green creep camp still not done, that might indicate where, you know, WFZ is actually going to be at. He is actually going to start with the Ogre Magi camp, or the Washer camp. The Watcher Magi camp, that I like to call it, since it does drop himself a Watch Award, and we'll be able to use that. Boot to Speed was picked up, and of course the Watch Award actually spots out the Blade Master, who did reach level 2, and he's gonna go straight after these Crypt Fiends. Probably don't have to worry too much, as the Death Knight seems to have Death Coil. Otherwise, you know, WFZ is actually holding on that ability point for a very long time. Boots of Speed has been sold, and another Rod of Necromancy has been picked up by the Death Knight. Ogre Warrior camp, another one, is going to be cleared out by ZDR. This is going to be really tough for WFZ. He's being, I guess you can call it, starved here. So yeah, he's probably going to resort to clearing out the easy creep camps on the opposite side of the map, which is risky in itself, because ZDR could go for maybe some base harass, or you know, just a full-on siege, but for now it doesn't seem like it. Well, maybe now it seems like it's going to be some harassment time, but since WFZ is walled off pretty effectively, not going to find much opportunities. 3 circlets of nobility for the Blade Master, as well as the Boots of Speed. It's a lot of circlets, I might just point that out. that's pretty much all I have to say about that one. Death Knight clearing up the remainder of the camp. Stronghold just about finished for ZDR, and he should be getting himself the Spirit Lodge slash Bestiary. We do have the Spirit Lodge placed down, and maybe we might see a second hero coming out. Orc has been completed, and what is going to be? Well, since we are facing a Death Knight who relies on healing his little buddies here, Shadowhunter does seem like the most likely pick, as it does seem to be most likely all the time. So yeah, Shadowhunter is going to be the second hero of choice. And yeah, honestly, it looks pretty good for ZDR's case. Most of the time when we have relatively new faces on the big stage, I don't know, they seem to underperform, and maybe it's because they don't actually want to make the risky plays here. But ZDR is playing, you know, well. Of course, people would say it's probably because he's playing Orc, and Orc is pretty easy to play, but you know, that's I guess you could call it subjective on that one. I don't know if that's entirely true. Of course, Undead can also be pretty easy. Of course, humans maybe considered the most easiest. Death Knight is being chased by the Blade Master and actually going to be let go of, but needs to be careful there. The Shadowhunter could easily lock down the Death Knight, and the Blade Master could clean up. Crypt Fiend is going to be focused down, but a second Death Coil will be bringing it back to reasonable health. We do have a Lich coming out, and he does get himself that Frost Nova, only to find his Death Knight friend killed off first. So that was decent, I guess. Anyway, I need to point this out. A Temple of the Damned is coming out for WFZ, and interesting pick here. I don't remember the last time I've seen an Orc vs Undead matchup, but it kind of makes sense. It's basically the equivalent of humans training up their sorceresses, getting themselves the slow debuff, reducing the amount of attacks the Orc units can do within a certain amount of time. It's basically the same with the Banshees, except they don't reduce the number. They just reduce the numbers of hits actually hitting, because they have the curse debuff, which of course makes the attack have a chance of actually missing, which could sway things over for WFZ's side here. Also, something to note is that the Lich got the full experience of killing that Blade Master. Meanwhile, the death of the Death Knight was shared. The experience was shared, as the Blade Master died right after. So yeah, the Shadowhunter probably not getting the most benefit of that one. But of course that means the Blade Master does seem to have more experience as well. So level 3 Death Knight, level 2 Lich versus level 3.5 Blade Master and a level 2, very close to level 3 Shadowhunter. So heroes does seem to be favoring ZDR a little bit, but yeah, it seems like WC is actually going to be the one going for the aggression here. Level 2 has been gained on the Lich, so he does have himself that Frost Armor, which, I was expecting the Lich to take at level 1, but he chose Frost Nova to get that kill, which was it just shows how well he's made decisions on the spot. So as you can see, the curse all around these Orc units here, and you can see even the Blade Master missing quite significantly actually. And well, we do hear a couple of grunts being taken out, but something worth noting is Most of the army is actually consistent of banshees, and it does seem like that they're having a hard time dealing with the Blade Master actually, and of course Death Knight can't toss out death coils forever. Something significant was that the Coda Beast was taken down, so yeah, without that Warsong Battle Drums buff, it's gonna be rather hard for the very few hits landing to actually, you know, deal damage. Surprisingly, we don't have any more Spirit Walks to go for a disenchant on these curse. It's actually hurting ZDR quite a bit. And of course the Frost Armor doesn't help either, because it slows the Blade Master as well as all the other melee units. So, you know, I guess it's even worse than facing a human, because Frost Armor is literally the Sorceress, and the Banshees are the Banshees. Okay, we do have one Spirit Walker out. Does he have enough mana to actually toss out a disenchant? Nah, he's gonna go for Spirit Links instead. The Shadow Hunter is gonna be focused down, but he was able to escape as he is in the clutches of his own base. This is not working out too well for ZDR, despite having a fairly good early game. It is rather disappointing to see this actually happen, as well WFZ's comp does seem to be far superior than ZDR's, unfortunately. And surprisingly as well, since like ZDR's done nothing wrong. He's been doing what every Orc player does, and that's Spirit Walker's Raiders. And yeah, it's just been easily countered by mass Banshees slash Crypt Fiends as well. And of course the Blade Master, even if he had like right now plus 12 attack, it's just not enough, because he's missing some of his attacks, and of course he's not attacking as fast as he would like. He will probably reach level 4 eventually, but that's just going to give him that level 2 critical strike, which in the end doesn't actually result much. Alright, WFZ still looking very strong, 33 versus WFZ's 49. He also has his double obsidian statues as well for that added mana and health. But it looks like one of the statues was taken down at least. More Banshees coming out for ZDR. Meanwhile, we finally have that Coda Beast replacing the first one. Blade Master needs to be careful. He is, I believe, invisible so far. No dust appearance whatsoever from WFZ, even though he does have a dust appearance right there. But I mean, as soon as that Blade Master comes out of that Windwalk form, I would imagine him getting bursted down, but I guess I just need to imagine harder because WFZ chose to retreat. Weird choice, but nevertheless, he is still kind of in control here. Black Citadel is on the way. WFZ is maybe waiting on that Orb of Corruption. Are we gonna have Adept Training? Because Anti-Magic Shell is not as important against an Orc matchup, because well, most of the Orc stuff don't actually cast that many spells, unless of course it's a Turn Chieftain Farseer combo, and then, well, then I guess you have to go with that kind of Anti-Magic Shell. But well, since it's a Shadowhunter Blade Master, I guess it doesn't really matter too much. And since the Shadowhunter, you know, Anti-Magic Shell is nice because it prevents Hex, but that's a lot of units to shield for just that Hex. So anyway, we have tier 3 for WFZ. He does have the Orb of Corruption. Will we get himself that third hero, which always a very interesting question here. Adept Training is actually on the way, as well as Destroyer form for those destroyers, or statues. Goblin Tinkerer is going to be picked up as the third and final hero of WFZ, and that is going to be purely due to the matchup here. I've been told that the Goblin Tinkerer works wonders against orc players. Honestly, I haven't been convinced that much. Sure, I've seen it work, you know, if he's been picked up maybe third, but I distinctly remember people picking him up first, and it just doesn't work out well. So anyway, ZDR is going to go on the offensive himself. He does have the double Kodos as is usual. He doesn't have enough Spirit Walkers, which I feel might be a little bit of a problem, but since destroyers are up in the air, I guess it doesn't really matter too much. I guess, you know, thank God you don't have too many of those Spirit Walkers here. We do have the Puck Factory placed down, but it was destroyed instantly. The Kodos probably need to go and devour these units here, as this one hasn't done so, which might not be too useful here. Blade Master, who does have +6 claws, or +9, +12, never mind. That equates to +30 attack, but since we did lose a Kodo Beast, that will go back down to +24. Another Puck Factory is being placed down here, and well, it doesn't look like, oh wow, it doesn't look too good for ZDR. He just lost his Shadow Hunter with a huge burst of damage. I believe that was the Nova Coil combo, and that will be game GG from ZDR, and that will be a win for WFZ. Nice. So yeah, another win for Tinkerer third, but honestly, third heroes don't mean too much to me. It's always the firsts that imprint my memory. Either way, I'll see you guys again in game 2. Yeah.